This week on Hermitcraft.
Good old retirement, staring at the sun. Nothing like it, Scar. Nothing like it.
My eyes are burning.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixel our writer is LoyXP, and we don't cover live streams except when we do. It has always been in our rulebook that the live streams of the Hermits are way too long and way too frequent for us to go through them even if we really wanted to, and that we cover videos Friday to Friday, leaving ourselves 2 days to write, edit, and publish a recap episode. Anyway, this week, Grian and Mumbo both did live streams here on YouTube. One of them dug a giant hole, and the other one stole a bunch of stuff from Enderman while Iskall watched. Both of them had more viewers than PewDiePie.
Crazy stuff going on. Lots of bananas and lots of spoons and lots of bananas and spoon emojis. But that's to be expected. We all saw that one coming.
And with that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
Look at this. Stop complaining about the lag and then making the lag... You know what? If he's going to complain about the lag, I'm going to make him really complain about the lag.
Starting with the fallout of that small thing you've probably never heard of called the Hermitcraft Civil War, and the two people who probably got the most out of it, except for the two of us, obviously. Having escaped the battlefield at the last moment and wary of potential G-Team retaliation, Cubfan and Good Times with Scar declare their Concorp days over and depart from the main Hermitcraft island, having earlier kicked off half the whitelist from it. All Concorp businesses from here on are officially shut down, bringing much joy to Tango and Rendog, and much grief to anyone in need of easy-to-buy terracotta, so probably also Tango and Rendog.
Which is great news for Big Logs Incorporated, of course, but I feel that this move requires a little bit of a token of solidarity.
With their profits in hand, the Vexhead duo move into the Concorp Country Club with the goal of improving it, completing it, and spending the rest of the season just chilling out as all heck breaks loose somewhere else.
Oh, it's rabbit hunting season, Cub, and it's gonna be amazing.
Well, I can't say I agree with this, but we're gonna try it anyway.
To avoid going too mad of boredom, Cubfan busies himself with completing the last holes of the golf course and looping it back on itself, so by the time you finish the last hole, you end up exactly where you started. This, of course, is an incredible amount of heavy terraforming, so it's all over in one episode. Gotta love Cub. Scar, in the meantime, works on a smaller but no less complex scale at the interiors of the Country Club house. The lower level of it is dug up and transformed into a comfortable hall with locker rooms for you to store your stuff in. In a similar way, Azuma finds himself digging out the ground underneath his Guardian Farm base, except for a much longer time since he nearly gets as deep as bedrock. Between that, picking a pattern to fill the walls of the hole with, and sorting out the problems with his newer hardware, X comes up with the idea to preserve what's left of the Civil War area for future generations and those who will download the world once the season ends. Instead of sawing off bits of equipment and putting them somewhere in a museum, X puts up a fence around the place, made out of knife-free iron bars and nether brick unknowingly provided by Joe Hills.
It will be a society of one, because I'm the only member so far.
But alas, his efforts to protect the living history of the server from the winds of time are dwarfed by Grian blowing up parts of his own warbase by accident, and Joe Hills graffitiing Star's basement with paintings.
I bet this was Joe. He was running around with potions. This is a very Joe thing to do.
Maybe the paintings are just a neat way of soundproofing, because in the wake of the Team Star super weapon diss track, Joe is just as concerned about musical threats coming from the outside. So this week, after helping Mumbo dig some stuff, he prepares a panic room for the event that any musicians happen to target the Hermitcraft server. It even has a sick burns ward, just in case anybody happens to spit fire.
Who is Roger Daltrey? Let me tell you, he's the lead singer of The Who, and they've sold over 100 million records worldwide, and we are not ready for any manner of musical showdown with them on either side of the pond.
The server trades one panic room for another, as Stress Monster reclaims all the resource blocks from the Pigman room she lured Ren and Doc into. But that's not the only memento she takes from the G-Team base, reusing her bunny maze idea, this time with a chicken, to act as a door mechanism inside the laboratory at her Ice Fort base. It even conveniently disposes of the chickens, as long as they laid enough eggs to bring forth a successor.
That's it, chick! Now to your death! Yes! I currently don't have a way to get back in the room, though.
To balance out this foul play, she returns to the Treat Your Chick ranch, having been given clues about where False Symmetry hid the chickens, and unearths them from their hiding places below each of these suspicious wolves. Unfortunately for Jack, the Moonbase chicken, freedom doesn't last long.
It was that thing's fault. Don't look at me like that.
False, in the meantime, is finally taking care of her part of the railway project conveniently forced onto her by Rendog. This week marks the opening of the Fantasy District station, that is as purple and fairy as the rest of False's personal neighbourhood, and a build so nice she built it twice. No, really, she did an exact copy of the interior, but upside down under a glass floor, to bring in the neat mirror effect and confuse Nicolas Cage into thinking that he's a vampire.
I don't know, you keep seeing granite and other things like that through there, so I don't know how picky I want to get with it. I've already got very, very picky with it.
More supernatural things may already be happening elsewhere in the Hermitcraft rail network, as Rendog spots a mysterious floating head wandering through the western tunnel when nobody else is on the server. Either someone's messing with him, or Ren is about to encounter the ghost of a salmon he's killed in a terrible passion.
Pickle? Wait a minute. There's nobody online. Is somebody messing with me right now? This is a dead end. There's absolutely no okay. Pickle? What? I'm confused.
If that's not cinematic enough for you, the first half of Ren's video this week is him and Iskall getting up to silent movie shenanigans, and the rest of it is him putting together an epic build in the Industrial District, an appropriately wooden factory building for the Big Logs Inc. TNT-powered tree farm. He can afford it now that he's the only tree farmer in the business, and, benevolent business owner that he is, he drops off a note at Concorp letting them know he owes them a favour for taking the log barge out of commission. So expect him to regret that in about a week or so.
With the kindest regards from Big Logs Inc.
Speaking of benevolent business owners, Python's Shulkerbox shop is still ludicrously profitable, thanks to this being very much endgame for most of the hermits, and therefore Shulkerboxes are needed for everything. Concorp aren't the only ones considering an early retirement. At least Python could retire in style now that his aquatic base is all wrapped up, the final addition being an armor display room and labels for all the storage. Even the dolphins are queuing up to see what's inside.
Oh, that's cute. I ain't seen that in ages, dude. Oh, you gotta love dolphins, man. Dolphins are amazing.
The happy customer who bought out all those shulker boxes is Impulse, who's been outfitting his personal trading hall with a high-tech shulker loading system. Items appear on the ceiling with relevant trades for each nearby villager, and once a box is empty and removed by the player, another is called from a storage system and appears in its place. Impulse isn't done splashing out yet either. Once a certain beacon shop appears in the shopping district, he buys 5 at 20 diamonds each, realizes he already has 4 in his ender chest, and goes, 9 beacons, sure, why not? Such things are pocket change when you're making the easy diamonds at iTrade. It's also pocket change for TFC, who still has a hoard of diamonds from branch mining stashed away in his ender chest, but he shows no sign of spending any of it right now. Instead, he finally decides that chickens are no good for randomizing anything and replaces them with a much less noisy cactus, ironically to randomize the annoying noises coming from behind the wall. He has other tortures in mind, including one apartment where the walls are entirely made of diorite, guess who that one's for, but someone in here has to live comfortably, so he starts work on the Vault Overseer's apartment, beginning with a chandelier in the ceiling. And while we're on the topic of overseeing, you're going to oversee a lot of Jevin unless he invests in some curtains. This week, Jevin primarily works on his new sea-bound Fidget Spinner, which is taking shape 1/4 of it at a time. Naturally, building roundish stuff in Minecraft pretty much equates to torture, so it requires a bit of fidgeting with the design after the big time-lapse to look as natural as Jevin wants from it.
I do like that though, but I think I'm going to keep it like that. Maybe there is a little texture on that and you just can't see it.
As for more people living in glass houses, Grian could use a couple of those for his villager-powered crop farm that had no villagers. Now, plenty of those happen to reside at nearby Mumbo Jumbo's base, and Railway Spaghetti helps a bit with transporting them. But this whole endeavour gets Grian thinking, why do these redstonifications yourself when you can get Mumbo to do them for you? And thankfully there is that one organisation they started together that could be incredibly useful at doing exactly that. Before the architects can have their first meetup in like 3 months, Grian needs to reassemble the meetup room from the maps reused on their last Flag's Infinity room, which is how he got into that booby trap we mentioned earlier, and which is how he lost most of his good equipment, which is why he had to re-enchant a bunch of stuff. And to think it all could have been avoided by just buying a bit of iron from Tango and some redstone he probably had no idea what to do with anyway. Maps, they're not as expensive as your whole inventory.
Please tell me my stuff pickaxe is okay. I think I lost my armor. I can't believe it.
The other half of Architects has to tear himself away from a witch farm perimeter to work on the aforementioned villager breeder, which he models after Freljot's design via Iskall85. Despite having some trouble getting a zombie to chase him, it has no problem chasing villagers into their trading cells when the time comes. Also, having finally taken down the mustache from the Team Star base, Mumbo gets Grian's help to reapply it to his face, only to discover that they may have gone a step too far.
Mumbo, what's going on?
What has happened to me?
Have you got You've got double mustache. You've got double mustache.
At least now he has a backup if they use the machine again. Freshly unshaven, the Architects bring two things to the show and tell. The idea to open their own storefronts to the market, selling everything there is to sell, which Mumbo calls an Amazon initiative, though they won't deliver, so just a really big shop then. And to invite Iskall to the group, now that the reveal of him swapping the Ghost Ship book has really impressed Grian. Although by that logic, we hope Zombie Cleo's getting an invite as well.
At the end of the video, he showed that he was the person that changed the sign that led me to the prank on the Ghost Ship. So basically, single-handedly, Iskall escalated the entire war into the whole G-Team versus Star. That's the sort of qualities I admire in someone, you know?
And finally, there's Iskall, who has been exceptionally busy.
Stress Monster, will you share a storage room with me?
Really?
Yeah!
As if building a ridiculous nether farm a couple of weeks ago wasn't enough, Iskall now puts all the blaze rods to use in a furnace-based XP farm designed by Ilmango. Using zero-tick pistons to generate cactus way faster than usual, he can leave it running in the lab he shares with Stress Monster, and pretty soon it's giving out 40 levels at a time, with no signs of stopping there. Inviting Stress to share his new storage room, he expands it upwards and adds Etho-designed shulker box switches for unstackable items like enchanted books. And now he's basically rolling in Wither Skulls. He drops off 320 of them at Azuma's base for a massive Wither fight they've got planned later in the series, no doubt leading up to a fight with their server hosts for physically melting one of their machines. He still has enough skulls left for himself to make 25 beacons, setting up a shop in the commercial district and preparing to make himself a buttload of diamonds through tiered pricing and people too busy to cheese a Wither on their own time.
Oh, hello Diamonds, how I missed you.
This comes with a community project too, planning out the track-switching redstone for the Hermitcraft rail network in a creative single-player world. Needless to say, Architects could really use a swell fella like him. Maybe with their powers combined, the three of them will finally come up with a use for Gimme the Guardian.
I think he's still here. Yeah, there he is. Perhaps we'll put him up for adoption or something.
And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. In this week's End Screen Theatre, me building Cub Fans' Guardian Farm, Zloy getting pranked with Diorite. Choose wisely, depending on how much bird poop you want in your life. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.